Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. I'm dating coach Naz, and in today's video, I want to get you guys a little bit up in my personal business, and not really for those reasons, but I really want to share my story because I feel like we learn with stories. And so today I want to share with you a toxic story of mine. A time in my life where I was young and I was dating somebody, and so I was in a toxic relationship, but I didn't really realize that I was in one because it felt normal to me, right? Because whenever you're in an unhealthy relationship with an unhealthy dynamic, you you feel familiar in it. It feels familiar to you. And so you think that that is how people behave because that is what you were used to as a child. Okay. So, and also the reason why I want to share this is because if you are somebody who is currently in a toxic relationship, and the amount of men, because usually we think that it's only men who abuse women, but there's a lot of women out there that also are abusers, unfortunately, of men. And I speak to these men a lot on a daily basis, where they're in these marriages and these long relationships where they're getting abused and emotionally abused and physically abused, and they're confused. They don't know what to do because this is just something that was accustomed to them as a child. And so I really want to share this because I want this to be almost like an awakening for you, that if a part of my story sounds like something you're going through right now, then maybe this is your sign to look within and to really ask yourself, is this how I want to live the rest of my, how much ever time you have left, another 20, 30 years. Like whenever I'm going through a situation that is not, it's just something that I'm choosing to stay in when it is actually causing my health to be, cause damage to it. What I ask myself is, when I'm on my deathbed, am I going to be regretful of remaining in this relationship, whether it be love relationship, whether it be a friendship, whatever it is, but am I going to regret it? And majority of the times the answer is yes, I am going to regret wasting my life in this relationship when I should have just spoken up. Why does that sound weird? I should have just used my voice and addressed it and worked on it, or I should have left. I don't even know why this board is here, but I just feel comfortable in this setting, so I'm gonna continue. So yeah. So long time ago, I was in this relationship where I saw the red flags, I saw the signs, but because that is how my mother raised me, I chose to believe that this is normal. This is how we're meant to behave in relationships. And it is definitely not the way to go about it. You cannot be in a relationship and get, emotionally abused. That's just not how it's meant to go. Anyway, so I was dating this guy, and I guess it was, and the time, my memory is really bad, to be honest, but I believe it was after a couple months, we went on a trip. And on this trip, it's so funny because I'm like reliving it. It's kind of funny and silly, but I feel like you're going to learn something out of it. You're going to get something out of this, hopefully. So after a couple of months, we went on this trip, and he was somebody who would check my messages. I'm just not that type of person. I don't really care to check messages. I had to do it at one point in one of my relationships. Anywho, so we're on this trip, and he suddenly got my phone, and he found a message that was sent to me, like I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was something, it was a little bit, it wasn't like the best message, but it was something that was sent 3 years ago. Didn't ever talk to him again. Like none of that happened. He was somebody that I, spoke to when I was a bit younger. And there was no part of me that was cheating or, I don't care to do any of those kind of things, right? And so he basically found this message and he lost his freaking marbles, okay? So he lost his shit and he just couldn't listen to what I was trying to tell him. and regulate his emotions. Okay, so let's write those things, 2 things down. So if you're getting into a relationship and your partner is unable to listen to you when times get really tough, also he had no empathy or emotional intelligence. And, sorry, last one, he couldn't communicate. After he was losing his crap, he then ended up punching a mirror in the hotel room. And so that was actually right before our flight. And he, cut up his hand and it was bleeding and it was this big, oh my God, that was like my suffering. My suffering began. And God was telling me, this is your future, sweetheart. And of course, I didn't really understand at that moment in time. As you guys know, you always understand life when you look backwards, right? So let's go through this again. Now, the reason why I'm putting this down is if you are in a relationship and you are experiencing these things, and again, this is just tip of the iceberg, all right? There's so many other things that I can get into, but I want to make this a video, but I want to keep it short and simple. So he couldn't listen. So when I was trying to explain to him, he didn't want to listen. Secondly, he couldn't regulate his emotions. So he was at a 1,000, just rage and anger and just like completely red. Okay. And so that is something that you have to watch out for when you get in a relationship. You have to make sure that you're not parenting adults, because as a child, yes, you need your parent to teach you how to regulate your emotions. Part of discipline is not just telling children stop doing that or whatever. It's actually teaching them a skill of regulating, take a deep breath, different techniques that you can use. But anyways, that's a whole different story. So he couldn't regulate his emotions. There was no empathy. Okay. So it was like brutal. And there was other things as well, but as I mentioned, I'm going to just keep it short and simple. There was no empathy. And then fourthly, again, I guess these two all of these are part of emotional intelligence. So there's really no emotional intelligence overall. And he couldn't communicate. So if you're in a relationship that is resembling this sort of a human being, then I highly suggest that you talk to somebody about it, because the more that you suppress your emotions and your feelings, the more it is actually affecting your mind, your body, your spirit. Coach, a therapist, a counselor, whatever is available to you. Because these traits, they don't just one day disappear off the thin air. Okay, these traits actually keep getting worse and worse and worse, and your resentment gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the lies keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because when you're with somebody like this, you don't feel safe in their presence, because you don't know at what moment in time they're going to explode and blow up at you. So you're walking on eggshells. Okay, so let's just remember these points. Okay, and then to top it all off, as we're leaving and we got into the airport, he actually took my passport. And in between of that, there was a lot of emotional, there was a lot of abusive language that was used. And so it made me almost feel like a hostage. At one point, I was like, what is happening? So because it was an airport, if I can't find him, I don't get on that flight. You know what I mean? So it was a very traumatic, it was just a really crazy experience. I don't even think I'm going in fully in detail for the whole experience, but you can kind of see, he punched the mirror and then he took my passport. So these two things are very manipulative. And at the end of all of this, what happened was we didn't have any sort of conversation. And when we got back to wherever we landed, he was like, don't ever do that again, kind of thing. And that was it. We never talked about it. We never said, hey, this is how you communicate. We never had any of those conversations, okay? And so this is why I'm so adamant on young, because I was young, right? I was naive. I was silly. I did a lot of crazy things, which was amazing. That was my experience, and I will never change it for the world because it taught me so many things, right? But the reason why I want to share this is because if we can kind of, minimize being in a relationship with somebody who really, is abusive emotionally, even physically for some people. Luckily, I didn't have to go through that, but there is, it really takes such a huge toll on your life when you're in a relationship like this, because you become so guarded, you become so worried. Like, is every man like this? Is every human being going to treat me like this? Again, I'm not saying this story for you to feel bad for me. It just makes me laugh now that I think about it, really. But I just want to spread this message out, especially to younger men, that you have to make sure that the people that you're surrounding yourself with, even the friends, friends could do this easily. Friends, lovers, whatever. You have to make sure that they are not manipulative and abusive. And sometimes these traits are seen in they're very light. They're very little. You can't even recognize them, right? I mean, when someone's punching the mirror, of course you can recognize, like, okay, are you okay? But again, because I'm an empath, because I'm very understanding of people's emotions, and I'm very forgiving. Like, I don't hold on to things because I just don't feel like it ever serves me. So it's just something that I can't hold on to crap. I have to let it go. And so I'm a perfect catch for a narcissist, because usually narcissistic people, they love empaths. They love people that can be more understanding, because as a narcissist, they're going to abuse you. So how amazing is it that when they are acting crazy, you then forgive them and you accept them for who they truly are? This video is a gift from me to you, because it's really a sign. And I know for a fact, nothing in your life is a coincidence. Okay, even when you think it is, it isn't. Every video that you see, every book that comes your way, every human being that comes in your presence, there is a reason for it. They're not just there for the heck of it, for entertainment. You really are there to learn something from them or their story. And so I really hope that this video will encourage you, if you are in a toxic, unhealthy relationship, to see the signs and to really, if you're worried or you're scared, you don't know how to speak up, you have to talk to somebody about it, and don't ever, ever, ever feel ashamed or feel feminine. So if you like this video and you would like to see more, please comment that down below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, share this video with somebody who needs it, and I will see you guys in my next video.